Welcome everybody to Business for Builders podcast, YouTube if you're watching us on the interwebs. Today I am joined in the studio via conference call by a friend of mine, Reon Paterson, all the way from New Zealand. You're in Auckland, mate. Is that where you were at? Where you're based?
I'm in Auckland, Auckland, New Zealand, down under, mate. Yep. Thanks for having me.
No sweat, You're welcome. So today, what we're going to do, obviously the objective of why we do Business for Builders is to bring value to our general contractors and our builders in our audience. And we really want to take, what we've learned over the last decade or more and really just in an audible format, give them some insight as to what we do. They might be able to take some of it, none of it, all of it, and, use it straight away. And we just want to see some value come from what we do. Because I think ultimately we all want to make money. There's no question about that. I've got a bit of a different spin on it, as far as why we're doing what we're doing with Business for Builders. But just to give a bit of background, Reon is a qualified carpenter, registered builder. He's been in the game for, over a decade. How long you been actually swinging the hammer for, Reon?
Oh, geez, mate. I started my apprenticeship back in 1994.
Okay.
So what's that? Yeah, we're getting up to...
That's where we're old and washed up almost. Yeah. And then obviously you got involved with Smithies in 2011. And then obviously off the back of that, you got involved with corporate office at Smith & Sons in Australia, looking after Australia and New Zealand and working in corporate office and a lot of the training and systemization of the business as it relates to renos.
That's the one.
And just recently you took on the opportunity to become a master franchise for the North Island. Is that right?
That is correct, yes. So I'm now settled back here, a lot less travelling. My time at corporate office, it was I guess it was a bit of a project, and we completed that project somewhat. Yep. I guess we're always working on the business and the model, but the big stuff was done. A bit of culture shift and a bit of systemization, whatnot. But it was meaning a lot of travel. So now I'm the master franchisee for the North Island of New Zealand.
So that's a bit
So sometimes Canadians get a bit lost on where New Zealand is and how many islands we have. We actually have two, north and south.
Really? I didn't think the north was that. It didn't seem that important to Cam there last week.
No, that's right.
Forget those guys.
Yeah, so we've got a great business here. We've got 15 franchise partners operating, and things are going really well, gangbusters, in fact.
And so how, just to quickly, I don't want to digress too much, but obviously COVID, did that have an enduring or long-term effect on your business, or did it just sort of stunt the growth minutely and then really went, full on once you got out of lockdown?
Yeah, well, we had about a 6-week hard lockdown. Obviously, there was no business done then for the construction industry here in New Zealand. But ever since then, basically since the end of April, we're record months. We've just come out the gate swinging. It's unbelievable. Strong leads and strong sales off the back of those. So it's actually been really good.
Because I think as a group in Australia
here is dying on its ass somewhat, but our industry's just going off.
Right. So, I think Lee was saying that you had some pretty good numbers, in Australia and New Zealand collectively. There was some, as far as lead numbers was super healthy, if not the best you've had. So maybe that the pandemic bottleneck really helped you.
Well, it's showing no signs of stopping because we've just closed off October, and for the North Island alone, I'm just looking at it, we took 255 inquiries.
Crazy. And that's spread over how many builders?
That's 15 operating.
Right.
But that's our marketing machine, as I refer to it, because it's become pretty powerful these days with the way we use the brand, the way we implement it into the digital space and radio, and there's all sorts of things we do, as well as the franchise partners really pushing the brand out in their local areas. It makes for as I just said, marketing machine. Yep. And when people are in the mood to spend like they are now, interest rates are really low here. No one can travel overseas. There's a lot of spare money around to make improvements to people's homes.
All right, mate. So let's get down to the detail. I think we chatted, off screen that we just wanted to I guess, talk about, a point of difference that we use every day, and it doesn't matter whether you're Smith & Sons or anybody else. This is something that I think as builders, ultimately, businesses run off the back of systems and then people run systems. So if you're a person or peoples and you're trying to operate a business and you don't have systems, you're really going to find life to be fairly difficult and probably a low-performing building company and certainly lack of profit. So one thing, that we talked about, we're going to chat a lot about our design, plan, construct methodology. And obviously you had a massive, you were the creator of that, I guess, based off the back of your experience in the field. And so, I'd love to understand some of the, obviously I got a bit of an idea what happened, but I'd love to hear from you the background of, say, why Smith & Sons as a renovator brand came about, and then obviously the deficiency or the gap that was noted by, yourself, and certainly, I had my own views on, some system deficiencies. And then just talk us through some of that science. And I mean, I'll have to pull you up because I know you're pretty passionate about design, plan, construct. But
sure.
Where it really supports our builders and certainly where it adds value to the customers, those two things. So, mate, take it away. Give us the background and then give us some of the gory detail.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess the beauty of our D.P.C process is it serves and provides value to two distinct groups of people. First and foremost, our clients, our homeowners, and at least in New Zealand, and I guess it's the same in Australia and possibly Canada as well, there's a traditional route that people take to getting any sort of large job done on their homes, which is usually, and it's still the case here in New Zealand, they'll head straight off to a draftsman or an architect. And through my years of experience of getting these plans and pricing them for people, spending a lot of time and a lot of effort putting these prices together and then going back and submitting them and seeing people just getting totally frustrated that these were never designed to their budget at all. And then I started to look at that a bit more closely and realised that, well, draftsmen and architects don't deliver the project. So how do they understand what things are going to cost?
Right.
Who understands what a project's going to cost the best is a builder. We deliver these projects every day. And then on top of that, seeing these builders come in, so it's serving the homeowner, sorry, just to complete that story, by a builder coming in and facilitating the process, understanding budget, giving them some clarity, taking a small sum of money off of them at the start to do like a feasibility, a cost assessment process, and then they can go forward through the rest of our process safe on the knowledge that their budget and their design are matching. And that's huge for customers.
Right.
So that was the gap in the market. For the builder, right, and this is where I get more passionate, in New Zealand, the builder needs to win the work, take responsibility for his projects for, in New Zealand, 10 years. You hang your name on the project legally for 10 years. You have to have black belt knowledge, as I call it, of all the sub-trades. You really are carrying the whole weight of the project on your shoulders right throughout, and all these subbies just come in and out and make their money, and it all seems very easy. And I think the builders deserve to get paid better for that undertaking, rather than just competing on price in this tender process once the plan's already done. So that's what we did it with our D.P.C process in Smith & Sons, is actually put the builder to the front of the process. Our lead machine, like I spoke about before, is sending our guys these inquiries as they would naturally go to a draftsman or an architect. They're coming to us. And like I said, we facilitate the whole process from there. And we try to build it as near as we can. We try to build it so that the experience for the homeowner is as near as possible to a G.J. Gardner experience in a renovation. Mm-hmm. G.J. Gardner being the biggest group home builder here in New Zealand.
Now, here it is. What is it about the D.P.C process that why don't builders do what, like you said before, why don't builders put themselves at the front of the queue? Why do they do it to themselves? Is it just everyone wants to make more money, but why would they not systemize their approach? Is it because they feel bad? Is it because they just don't know? Is it we just never got taught? I know that I didn't get taught that.
Oh, look, in the building industry, I call it the the Me Too movement of the building industry, which is everyone out there, you know, a one-man band builder, as we call them in New Zealand, a guy in a van or a truck, you know, they're not our opposition anymore. Actually, our opposition is more the draftsmen and architects as it relates to these jobs that we do. But these guys are all running on their own little Me Too movement, which is they all do exactly the same thing. If you read the sides of their trucks and vans over here, it'll say literally Bob Jones Builders, bullet points underneath, decks, fences, renovations, extensions, new builds. And the next guy will drive past and you'll see, you know, same, but different written on his. You go to their websites, you know, they're all doing the same thing. And they're all pricing things the same way, and they're all fighting over the scraps the same way. It's just I guess they just think that's how it is.
So why do we target homeowners? This was my question before. Why do we target homeowners, or why do we talk to them about avoiding the architects and draftsmen first? Why do we want to get to those? Talk us through the philosophy with where I know we've talked about taking them off the market, obviously putting them in the top of the D.P.C process. What is the downside? Let's say if we've got clients out there, which we probably won't have a lot of, but more general contractors and builders, what is the advantage? Because I know that in my time as a builder, you know, with smithies and without smithies, people, I heard a lot of my, you know, counterparts would say to clients, well, you go and get your plans drawn up, then come and see me and I'll give you a quote. Now, you and I both know, and I can see the body language. You're like, that is the worst move. And so let's dive into that, because we might have general contractors and builders watching this saying, yeah, that's what I do. I go and palm them off to an architect, and then when they got plans, talk us through the philosophy and your feelings around why you shouldn't do that. You need to get to them before they get to an architect or a draftsman.
Well, first of all, as soon as you do that, you've lost control of your customer, your prospective customer. So that's that. I mean, that's end of. You don't want to do that. And again, just stepping back, it does go into your marketing, and you need to have your marketing aligned to this. Now, the Smith and Sons website. I'm allowed to talk about Smith and Sons here.
A little bit.
Yeah. Is very effective at showing that we're a one-stop shop. Customers don't necessarily know how the process works or where they should go. They're in that Google searching time. They're looking for answers. They're wondering how to start, and they're looking for some knowledge and some safety.
Sure.
So with that fact in mind, you just need to be out there fishing for those leads, and then sending our franchise partners along there with an effective sales system that they're confident in following. And an effective sales system is a process that you can repeat over and over again, and it should spit out the same successful outcome, over and over again. And that's what our process is all about.
So so other than losing control of the clients, why is it important that we should maintain control because buyers or homeowners don't have a buying process. It's very much by default, not by design. Whereas what we're saying is we're now going to counter that with a designed process, which is what D.P.C or design plan construct is. And so what is the control or the leadership component for each general contractor in smithies? What is it that's important for those guys? Like, obviously you want to lead the way. You don't want the tail wagging the dog, essentially.
100%.
You know, and so what you want is, I guess, if in having the system, it helps you with red flags as well and tripwires in that system, you know, that. So why is it important? What can happen if you let the client or the homeowner wag the dog effectively? What's some of the negative outcomes that might come about if they were to you were to just bow to everything that they wanted, or they were to run off and grab a draftsman or an architect? What can happen that's destructive on the business?
Well, I mean, there's lots of things that can happen, and none of them are good as far as a successful outcome is for you as a business owner. I mean, it's unlikely that you will maintain profitability if you're going to dance to a different tune to 3 or 4 different clients, and you most certainly will struggle to scale up to
the business.
The business,
right?
You know, if you're letting the customer, you know, if you're sort of dancing to a different tune, like I said, with 3 or 4 different customers, very hard to scale up, very hard to bring staff members on and get them to understand what the heck's going on.
Because again, business operations is supported by a system which is driven by humans. So everything you just said, if you're going to scale up a business, then you're going to need systems so that humans can run the systems which run the business.
Oh, 100%. And just coming back to even just confidence in sales. I mean, I see these guys, I do a lot of training and coaching and I guess mentoring with younger guys that join us, and just seeing the confidence that these young chaps quite quickly achieve through knowing the process. They always know the next stepping stone in where they're taking the client. Because I think that exudes out to the customer and gives the customer more confidence in becoming an actual good paying client.
Yeah, I think the systemization gives you that confidence for sure. But when you don't know where to start, like if you say to most builders, hey, can you design systems or standard operating procedures or anything like that? They're like, mate, too busy. I'm busy quoting. I'm busy building. And yet they're literally, it's to their own detriment that they don't stand still and systemize for a moment. And so, the D.P.C is just one of many systems that are built into the business. But it is that thing that I guess because every time you approach a client and you have a systemized approach right from the first phone call, then you basically are very efficient because you already know the outcome that you're actually seeking. And if the clients or the homeowners decide they want to try and wag the dog or do it their way, they either got to comply with your systemization or you eject them out of your sales process. Is that right?
That's totally correct. And just to comment on your, talking to a new builder that you've just met and asking him to design a system like this, I can't take all the credit for this process that's now working very, very well. I've had the luxury of working within a big network, and the process that we have now, we actually refer to as D.P.C 2.0 because we made some fundamental changes about a year and a half ago to it. But I have the luxury of pushing these systems out into the world, watching them, studying them, slowly tweaking. And, it's just like sharpening a tool. It just gets better and better and better. So that's one of the true luxuries of working in a group like Smith & Sons as well.
Yeah, I would agree because, I think that one of us can't be as smart as all of us. And I think to achieve something in fairly rapid time, you really need to embrace the power of the team. I think, like you say, I find that here we're very much obviously off the back of what you've done in Australia and New Zealand in the last 10 years. But we've had to really, I guess, Canadianize some of the stuff that we're doing. But there's no way we could have, from a standing start, do what we've done in 2 years and developed a lot of these systems, by ourselves. So, that's a testament. And then, of course, having the systemization that we inherited, I see it in the businesses of the guys day to day. They'll come back with a challenge. We'll talk about it. We'll thrash it out. We'll go and maybe just tweak it. Then you hone it. And I'm telling you, I think with technology and our ability to do business in this day and age, change is just rapid. It happens all the time.
Well, absolutely.
And I think the reaction of the marketplace definitely alludes to what we should do better.
Yep. And through the coaching and mentoring I'm doing with the younger guys, I'm always got my ear out for, little maybe deficiencies that we have in the process. And I'm always on the phone to the more senior guys, because at the end of the day, I'm not actually out there in the saddle anymore running this stuff. So I'm just constantly.
You want the feedback, don't you?
I want the feedback. I'm constantly studying, and we're just always making little tweaks, little adjustments, little add-ons,
And so with your builders, Reon, when you've got, like I can drop a few names, obviously Lane and Melissa and Dan, those guys are what we would call journeymen. I mean, they're experienced operators. They're really kicking ass, taking names. Do you find that, and I'm sort of asking this question out of my experience, is that when you bring in brand new guys and gals into the business, is the uptake around the system, obviously there's a lot of optimism, that they are encouraged by the fact that there is some fairly, defined and black and white systems. But I find that the X factor is the human. In other words, they bring, like we all do, we bring our own baggage to the table, which can stunt the growth, in our businesses because of how is it that do you find that, I mean, maybe Kiwis are just sharp dudes and they don't have a problem, but do you find that it's good, that having the system, the fact that you've got that set up, then you're bringing in new blood, if you want to call it that, do you find the uptake is it's a fairly streamlined learning approach? And is there a timeline that you think the 90-day, you know, the onboarding process that we have in accordance with the franchisee growth pathway, is the uptake fairly streamlined for you over there?
Well, the uptake of the philosophy of the business, and at least in the North Island, because I can only speak for that.
Sure.
I recruit on this D.P.C process as a real central sort of pillar to what it is we do, and the value proposition we sell to our customers. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to start running it out from day one, because, to be honest, some of the younger guys, I've got a young guy, Brett Barclay, down in Cambridge, just a few hours south of Auckland here. You know, he wouldn't have been ready for that a year ago when he came on. So he's cut his teeth through, you know, learning our financial systems and learning our software system and learning just the basics of sales and stuff through smaller projects. We've been able to just customize his leads somewhat. And a year later, which is today actually, he's just going into his first D.P.C project.
Right.
So it does vary. A more experienced guy, you know, you can give him a couple of training sessions on it and he's away.
Yeah, I guess it's the same as and really what D.P.C or design plan construct is. It's essentially a sales tool, you know, and it's
100%.
It's like, you know, if I was to swing a nail gun or a skill saw, you know, compared to that of maybe a 17-year-old second-year apprentice, obviously the execution is going to be different purely because of the level of maturity. But
sure,
you know what I like about, you know, the systems that are all as part of the Smith and Sons program is that we have systems, and I think when these guys embrace those systems, they actually, what we're trying to do is create high performance building companies. High performance, you know, alluding to the fact that we're talking, you know, highly profitable at the same time. So, you know, we want to scale up businesses. We want to do good top line revenue. We want to have lifestyle for the owners of the business, you know, authentic business ownership. And we want to make sure that, you know, obviously bottom line is the profitability is there in the event they want to maybe sell a business down the track. So
100%. I mean, profitability of our franchise partners is my number one focus. And I've been at this long enough to know what they should do and the path they should walk to get to that. But absolutely, their profitability first and foremost, because once they're profitable, they're happy and they're confident, and growth comes naturally off the back of that.
Okay. Look, man, look, I don't know what we want to, you know, I guess we could talk about, you know, in the design, I think we've talked about design, plan, construct, but if we want to quickly break that down into some really, you know, just talk about each aspect of that, and we'll close out with this, you know, each aspect of the design phase, the planning phase, and obviously the construction phase, keeping in mind, you know, what we do in North America compared to what you guys do. Some of the lingo is going to be different, but essentially we're dealing with homeowners that want a renovation or an additional something done. And so what is the organized part within the design plan construct process?
Okay. Well, look, first and foremost, it's understanding the value proposition for the homeowner. And it's not that easy to achieve, at least here in New Zealand, to be able to get some concept drawings as opposed to your full construction blueprints, I guess you guys might call them. So just to spend a smaller amount of money, but have the budget conversation around those drawings first and foremost, like I said, by an experienced builder, and have those concept drawings priced out as though we're quoting them. I mean, we're literally sitting there, and yes, the engineering details aren't done, but we're 9 times out of 10 experienced enough to make assumptions that are close enough.
Because you've got historical data.
We've got historical data, and we've got a lot of experience up our sleeves, and we've got each other to bounce this stuff off, right? So once a homeowner understands that the value proposition for them going into this big unknown, and they, you know, I'm sure you have the same horror stories over there, renovation nightmares, budget blowouts.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's just everywhere. Once they understand what we're trying to do here is lead them through a process with some stepping stones that have got some, you know, safety along the way. And here in New Zealand, I don't know, a $500,000 project might take an upfront cost of, say, $3,000.
So that's a feasibility study component. That's what I'd put that down to.
It's a feasibility study component. Yep. And we're not just, it's not just, like I said, back of the envelope rough estimates. It's a serious specified, broken down, detailed price that's put to that.
And is that been, when you say it's detailed, obviously you've spent some money. Can you move, what would be the next step? Now, obviously this could be going into the planning process. What's the next step once you've got that? Is that a bracketed price range, or that's a specific number?
That's a specific number. It's still sitting at estimate stage.
Right.
But it's a specific number, and we put plenty of, time and effort into that. And from that, once we've got to that point and that number should match, the budget conversation we've had way up earlier at the first site visit. Mm-hmm. Those two things match, and the client's comfortable. We sign them to contract, and we head along. I mean, our process goes around the page. We head along the bottom of the page,
which is the planning stage.
Which is the planning stages, and we're firming a whole lot of things up. And I guess that there's two sort of buckets of information that we're firming up. One is we've included a whole lot of Smith & Sons standard inclusions, floor coverings to door handles to taps to toilets to what have you. We haven't put PC some allowances in there. We're actually picked out mid-range, good quality stuff. Mm-hmm. And the clients may want to go with that, or may want to change. And then we're just firming up some of the subcontractors, as we call them here, estimates, and just firming those up. And there's a bit of unders and overs there. But essentially what we're trying to do there for our builders is to remove all of the known unknowns, if this makes sense, before a spade goes in the ground. Every known unknown needs to be sorted out before spade goes in the ground. And the reason I say that is that one reason alone leads to better gross profitability at the end of the project.
Yep. So there's no grey area, no confusion, no misunderstandings. It's all documented.
No, you can slap your project pack on your project manager's chest and say, go at it. And he could literally start ordering tiles on the day he's first on the project. Yep. Now, traditionally, again, I'm talking about here in New Zealand, that's not how builders operate. We let the owners make the decisions on the way, and there's delays, and they change their mind. And
this is where there's a lot of similarities, Reon, between New Zealand. Well, this one I think is that, do you call it time and materials or cost plus?
We call it cost plus over here.
Cost plus, which is as tragic there as what it is here, I would expect.
Yes,
that planning phase, the fact that you've qualified them in the design phase, and you've got that number, and you've got a fairly good handle on the inclusions, and then you go and tweak, the inclusions and the number, and obviously you start talking to the city, or you get your, what do you call it, letter of consent, or whatever you guys call it down there.
Yeah, building consent.
Yep. So all of that, and then obviously you're already at building contract stage, and basically when you close out the inclusion specifications and the price, you're pretty much ready to go build. You're into construction phase, right?
Yeah, so we refer to that as spade in the ground day when you first start a project. And typically a Smith & Sons D.P.C project might have, there might be more than a dozen. There might be 20 variations signed off by the owner. And still put yourself in the owner's shoes. Before the project has started, we're only left with actual unknown unknowns, which is, you might uncover some rot, or, the usual renovating things that can happen. But basically we've de-risked the whole project besides those things that we could never know. And that's got to be a better ride for the homeowner. And actually I can prove that in data by the number of happy clients that we're churning out running this process.
Yeah.
It's so much more surety for them.
Yeah, well, we talk a lot about peace of mind and security. That's what we sell first and foremost, and then we do construction services after that. So There's a lot of empathy around our marketing message, and so look, I think we'll probably wrap up, but hopefully our general contractors, our builders, I think that the systems is the part. Obviously we've got good skilled tradespeople, and we've got the opportunity there to have a good business, but I think It's the systemization that goes between, which is the massive gap, the massive deficiency in a lot of general contracting and building companies. And the ones that excel, interestingly enough, are the ones that really crack the system nut. If they can really systemize the business, that's where you start seeing some fairly exponential vertical growth. And so, you know, we're really sort of bullish and very passionate about seeing all of our, you know, general contractors and builders in Smith & Sons, you know, have that business, you know, in the next 2 to 5 years that they thought was almost impossible. And it's good to know we've got guys in the business like yourself, Reon, that are really, you know, the pioneers, I suspect, and certainly very diligent in their view of the business. And I'm certainly very passionate about seeing everybody that's in the Smithy family do nothing short than succeed in a massive way. So
absolutely. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we love the business, right? I mean, helping people to succeed, having processes to be able to help them get there. It's brilliant.
Yeah, man. So look, you know, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know what time it is there in NZ, but
no worries, mate. It's midday. It's just lunchtime.
And so yeah, it's been good catching up. It's unfortunate we haven't been able to catch up this year with the old pandemic for a few beers.
Oh, mate, next year in Cairns, mate.
But we will catch up in Cairns next year. So look, Reon Paterson, man, master franchise for Smith & Sons in the North Island, builder extraordinaire. We really appreciate your insight and your time. And look, if you're a general contractor or you're a builder, whether you're watching this in Australia, New Zealand, or North America, or anywhere for that matter, feel free to hit me up on an email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. Feel free to subscribe. If you've got any questions, hit us up in the comment section below. And look, just take what you've heard. If you can use some of it, great. If there's nothing there for you, then we appreciate you watching this far. But we really want to hear of your success. So don't be shy. Come and talk to us. So thanks very much for tuning in.